Hey, what's good, guys? So I wanted to make this quick video because I think it's very important to point out when you've been wrong about something, especially when you're making videos online and those videos are getting a lot of attention. Now, I made a video about Silent Hill 2 Remake quite some time ago now, and it garnered quite a bit of attention and there was quite a lot of discussion around it. I know it was shared around quite a lot, and I was very, very critical and harsh of the developers for things that I'd heard and for them being the developers, because the games they had made previously were not games that you would think, okay, the next transition is Silent Hill. Now, the developer's name is Blooper, and they've been responsible for games like Blair Witch Project and The Medium, Layers of Fear, even a Blair Witch VR game. These are unremarkable games. They're kind of hard to get wrong, a lot of the time, and even then, they're not very good in my opinion. I played the Blair Witch game. It's very, very difficult to get through. I didn't like it whatsoever. So, to me, Silent Hill is like the pinnacle of horror games, right? It is the horror game that you go to. There's a lot of great ones out there. There's a lot of obscure ones. Siren is a fantastic one. But in terms of mainstream appeal, Silent Hill would be the horror game. So when they were given the go-ahead to develop this game, the keys to the castle, so to speak, I raised an eyebrow immediately, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? These guys don't make very good games, or at least even if you think those games are decent, they're not good enough to warrant, hey, here's Silent Hills. That would be like the person that made Dive Kick. No offense, Dive Kick is fun, but then you turn around to them and say, here's Street Fighter 7. I'd be like, anyway, they went ahead and made the game, and when they were releasing videos, they released a combat video which did not sell the game to me at all. It looked very Resident Evil-y, and I had a lot of concerns, and I think the people that had concerns surrounding it were completely valid to do so. It was not put together the best way. And then they did a video where they were talking about updating the game for modern audiences. Now, whenever gamers these days, including myself, hear that modern audiences, updating it for modern audiences, immediately we raise our eyebrows. We sigh, we're like, not this shit again. Because a lot of the time when you hear that, you know what comes next. And it's a load of nonsense, something that is not true or faithful to the original take. And so all of the concerns that we had leading into Silent Hill 2 Remake were completely valid. And I hope that you guys understand the sentiments shared by the Silent Hill fans and the Silent Hill community when we heard who was working on it and some of the talking points around it. Well, now that I've given you all of that, I am obviously here to say that I was dead wrong. My brother bought Silent Hill 2. I watched him playing it, and I was looking at it and I was like, this actually looks pretty good. And I sat there for a long time watching him play it, and then I played it myself. And like I said, sometimes we make knee-jerk reactions because of a pattern of events that we see happening, and this was one of those times. Not only is Silent Hill 2 good, Silent Hill 2 has done something that I have not seen other remakes really be able to do. And it's especially special with this remake because the atmosphere in the Silent Hill games, in the old PS2 ones, to me, it almost seemed impossible to recreate that, to recapture that magic. When they announced a bunch of Silent Hill projects, and Silent Hill 2 was one of the ones, I didn't even need to hear the developer. I was like, there's no way this is going to touch the original. Well, again, I have to say that I was wrong. Now, I haven't played it all the way till the end, so my opinion could shift again, but I've played a lot and I've seen enough. And when I mean a lot, I mean I've played a lot of it. But yeah, there are some changes. I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone that hasn't played it. There are some changes to the original, but Blooper really nailed the tone and the atmosphere. And something that I love about this game is that when I saw Resident Evil and the direction they're taking, and then I saw Silent Hill, I was like, they're copying Resident Evil. But in Resident Evil, it's a bit more believable with the direction they've gone down, because a lot of the characters in those games are trained. They're specially trained military people, or they belong to like particular teams. When you play as Jill Valentine, you believe Jill Valentine is a badass and she can do all these swift dodges. When you're playing as Leon, you believe that Leon's got all these like weird martial arts moves. When you're playing as Chris, you believe that he's basically John Cena, right? He's just punching boulders and fighting monsters in lava. But with Silent Hill, you control a character called James Sunderland, as I'm sure you guys are already aware. And James is not trained in anything. I think from memory he's like into track and field, and I can't remember exactly, which would make sense because he does run quite a bit in this game. But outside of that, he's not a fighter, he's not trained to do anything, and my biggest concern of this game is that it was going to move away from horror and move into action, and it was going to try and capitalize on the Resident Evil money, much like we saw DC try to capitalize on the Marvel stuff. We've seen NRS try to capitalize on the Marvel stuff. When something is working, other developers are like, oh, we should do that as well. Well, again, I'm happy to report, at least from what I have played so far, which is a substantial amount, and then I've seen further into the game from my brother's playthrough, who, by the way, is also a huge Resident Evil and Silent Hill fan, and he was ready to rip this game to shreds. He was more ready than I was, and he's got nothing but good things to say about it. Again, there are changes here and there, but there's an overwhelming amount of positive things to outweigh anything that might be considered a con. But I'm happy to say that the combat is very much what you would expect from somebody like James Sunderland, who is not trained to fight. He's very sluggish, it's hard to move around with him. Ammo is very scarce, so you want to be using melee a lot more. And again, just the foggy, dreary, like the horrific atmosphere of Silent Hill has been recaptured of this game. So I know a lot of YouTubers, including myself, we jumped on it, we heard these things. I think our concerns were completely valid, but I do think that this is a good learning experience, especially for me. You know, I've only really taken YouTube more seriously this year, and I think this is good that Silent Hills 2 was successful. I'm really happy that they actually made a good remake, because we get so many remakes these days and remasters and they're not good. And so when you see patterns over and over again, you're like, oh my god, here another one of our sacred gems from back in the day. They're gonna ruin it, but they didn't. This video is really to say I was wrong. I don't apologize for putting the video out, because, you know, it is what it is. I had my suspicions of where it was going to go based on things I'd seen, based on previous behaviors, previous titles from that developer, and just the pattern of behaviors you see in the industry. But I was wrong. I was completely wrong. And obviously people are going to have their own opinions. I am not here to sway other people's opinions. Obviously, I've told you guys before, sometimes I'll say things you don't agree with. Maybe you don't agree, that's completely fine. I know that there are still some other YouTubers that don't like it. One thing I have seen though is that some people are focusing on some of the things that are going on with the developers or people surrounding the games that are not good. And I've heard some things that are not good. You know, I'm not going to dive into them here because that's not what this video is about. But those things don't really have anything to do with the game itself. My biggest concern with Silent Hill 2 was, were they going to be able to recapture the magic from the PS2 era and retell that story for a new audience and for the old people that are coming back to experience it in a way that is going to stand the test of time. And I honestly think they did. I think they did a good job. And from what I have heard, the original developers of Silent Hill are very, very happy. The original Japanese developers are very happy with what they've put out. Just want to let you guys know, I've played it now. I saw some people telling me they want me to comment and admit that I was wrong. I told all those people, go fuck yourself, I'm not making that video until I play it. Well, now I have, and I'm more than happy to admit that I was wrong. So if you were thinking about not playing Silent Hill 2 because of the video that I made about it, or you were on the fence, this is a video to say, yeah, they did a good job. If you were going to spend your money on a horror game, I would recommend Silent Hill 2.